Hey guys, it's M.A.D.D.Y. I don't know, but today, we're gonna listen to Go, my favorite sports team, and I want to document my reaction to each of these podcasts that Mark and his friends are doing. But we have gone through the puzzle, the freaking chessboard for Harry Potter Lego set, even the freaking Miles Morales little picture thing. So I have nothing else to do while we're doing these so-called podcast reactions. So what am I gonna do? I am going to do some lore action on my desk here that I am currently on. You can't see it, and I will do my darn tootedness not to spoil any of my lore stuff while I'm doing this. So maybe this will keep me distracted while I'm doing said lore stuff. So you might see me look down because I have paper here for lore stuff. And if I explain it to you, then it's not going to be lore. So it's just me telling you what I'm going to do in the future. So I'm not going to do that. So today's episode, teamwork makes the dream work? Question mark? I think so. I was on a team, so it was kind of a dream work situation. Let's do this. Turn that all the way up. Is it starting? Start. There we go.
Hello, sports fans, and also not sports fans. Welcome to Go! My favorite sports team, the number one sports podcast in the local area, and probably more than that.
The local area? What's the local area, Mark?
It's indeterminate. It's between like 10 miles and maybe 100,000 miles. I don't know how far. If it's like number one in the world, it could be light years. I don't know. Who am I to say? I don't know what I'm talking about half the time. Why would it start now?
Well,
Oh, yeah, I'm Mark. Right, that's part of the intro. Remember when I used to give you shit about not getting the intro script right? And I'm like, no, it's just complete nonsense.
in a lot of ways, I focus on it in a lot of different things.
That was a terrible introduction.
Yeah, I was trying to pull that
There's
up
a script,
at the last thing.
There, we wrote down exactly what it should be.
Anyway.
If you're new to the podcast, my name is Mark, also known as Markiplier. I'm joined by Tyler. I do not know sports very well, even after all these episodes, so I am kind of representative of the audience side that is not diehard sports fans or maybe not aware of the world of sports. But Tyler here is an expert.
Well, I have a master's degree in sport administration.
We went through a whole episode that was like, you are an expert. You're as much of an expert as it qualifies to be an expert.
That's fair. It's just very difficult for me to accept the term expert because, you know, you look in the mirror and you're like, you're smart, but also like, are you that smart?
Oh yeah, don't be egotistical. I was like, you look in the mirror, like, you may be handsome, but don't think that you're smart. You can't be both. But he is. Everyone at home, he is both. It's stunning.
Wow. Well, today we are going to be doing an episode talking about individual sports and team sports. But before we kick it off, I want to go ahead and dedicate this episode to a late friend of mine who recently passed away tragically. Her name is Denise, and she's a big reason why throughout grad school that I made it through grad school. We worked together on a lot of projects. There's numerous papers in there. Like, anytime I think about my master's degree or school in general, Denise comes to mind because we just spent a lot of time together, and every single note talking about the intricacies of everything that goes on in the sporting world, especially on the business side and ethics and various other things, they've always been in my mind. They were the first person that I messaged when the podcast first aired, just being excited about it and wanting to talk to them about it. And hopefully I was hoping to eventually, you know, maybe have them on an episode, but unfortunately they passed away, and they're a very big part of my life. And so I just wanted to take a moment to, you know, honor them and immortalize them in the best way that I could with this podcast episode.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't know Denise, or I don't think I've ever had a chance to meet them. But yeah, you were telling me, like, the whole thing about you having a master's degree, you know, like, kind of leaning into that. It's true, but, you know, we goof around with it. But it's like, that is part of the reason why we're here doing this podcast, because you are, by all accounts, an expert, or at least really advanced in the field of knowledge of sports. Not the best in the world, maybe, but that master's degree does represent more than just being a piece of paper. It's a record of accomplishment of how far you've come in terms of your pursuit of knowledge in the world of sports. And it sounded, when we were talking, just like Denise was a huge part of that even happening.
Yeah. They were the first friend and probably the only friend that I've kept in touch with for the most part in grad school, because I got my grad degree out in Colorado. So, like, I left, you know, Mark, Wade, and Bob all behind in Ohio. And this was before Bob ended up going for his law school and everything. And I still remember distinctly listening and watching videos just to be like, hey, I'm kind of with my friends again, you know? So it was a big part of that. And, you know, she worked in the sporting field. She was an assistant athletic director at a junior college, very prestigious junior college. And, you know, I learned a lot from her, and hopefully she learned some from me. And unfortunately, that connection is a little bit gone now, but always with me and should forever always be remembered as a part of this podcast in some degree.
And I think, like, it probably, I don't know what exactly the topic is going to be about besides, like, individual sports and teamwork, but I imagine it ties into that, because it is really much like teamwork extends beyond just, say, corporate posters that are motivational to some degree, and, you know, team sports where, you know, you're all in a huddle before you go out on the field, you know, teamwork extends to every facet of human life. You know, there is no one out there, I think, that is listening to this podcast that has not at least had a conversation with another human. I don't know what point I'm making.
Yeah, I mean, society as a whole works in collaboration with other people, and that's a big part of teamwork. So let's just get into the episode in honor of Denise.
Okay.
I'm sorry for your loss, Tyler.
So, Mark,
Yes.
there are two distinct categories of sport, right? You have your individual sport and your team sports.
Okay.
But which sports do you think are team sports versus individual sports? Because there are sports where they have a team element, but to me don't seem like they're necessarily team working.
Okay. This feels like a trick question. This feels like something the Sphinx would ask you before letting you in the tomb. You know?
Yes.
I'm going to go C. Neither are a team sport. Final answer.
False. Failed. So when you think about wrestling, obviously when we wrestled in high school, on the mat, there's only two people competing against each other.
Sure.
It's an individual sport.
Unless you got that tri-wrestling tournament where it's like a free-for-all and there's just like a big pile of bodies undulating trying to pin each other.
Like the Royal Rumble, WWE style.
Yeah, exactly. Where's tag team wrestling in professional wrestling? Why can't I clothesline the other person?
Well, there is tag team wrestling in that, but that wrestling is entertainment. It's not really a sport. They do a lot of really athletic stuff, but it is mostly scripted, and it's stunts, and it is not a sport.
Oh, really? Well, we'll save that all for the Is It a Sport episode, which we're going to do eventually, but I feel like you are upsetting a lot of people at this moment.
Probably.
And he doesn't care.
No, I don't.
He does not care.
But you think about football, everybody has to do their job and work together. In order for a completed play to work, the offensive line has to block, the quarterback has to get the ball from the center, hand the ball off, or complete a pass to a receiver.
Yeah.
And the defense has to work together to cover all area, make a tackle, and prevent them from moving the ball forward and advancing to score. Gymnastics, only one person is competing at a time, but there's the ability to tally up points. To me, to define truly a team sport, everybody needs to work in collaboration for success to happen. To me, when you're an individual competing in wrestling and you win by tech fall, that's 5 points for the team, or you get a pin, that's 6 points for the team.
Sure.
Those point systems, it's really just individuals. It's an individual sport that they're just like, oh, there's a point element so that we can have a team advance. I don't consider that a team sport.
No?
No.
Even if you are part of a team that is collectively working together towards like a maximum point?
No, because in the actual competition, at the root of it, it is 1v1.
Okay.
It is individualistic. Same thing with swimming. They have relay races. That's the closest thing to a team that you can get. But at the end of the day, one person is swimming at a time. I'd consider it more of a team sport if one person was the arms and the other person was the legs and they were holding on to each other.
Sure.
Then I'd think it's more of a team sport.
I mean, yeah. Sorry, that visual just entered my mind.
I've done that numerous times with my brother and with swim team. We would call it train swimming. So like we'd have one person in the middle who literally is just holding the legs of the person in front.
Right, yeah.
And
It's the human centipede of swimming.
Yes.
You know? It's some horrible... do you go ass to mouth for each of those? You breathe. The one in the front breathes, swallows air, and it has to chain down.
No.
I think that's a fact, everyone at home. That is what Tyler did in
But the point I'm trying to make is like the team element of gymnastics, competitive gymnastics that we see in the Olympics, I don't consider really a team sport. I consider it an individual that contributes to the team by individual success.
Okay, all right. Because when it comes down to the actual competition itself, the team in that aspect is an amalgamation of everyone's overall performance, but it is inherently individualized.
It's like a virtual team.
Yeah,
it's not really a team. Like, I get the arguments that people are probably going to have is like they practice together, they work together, they push each other, improve each other. Yes, in practice, you're a team. You're elevating each other so that you can each have individual success. But at the end of the day, you're competing individually.
Yeah, so the definition, clarification is it's not a team sport, even if you work in a team at some point when you are training or doing the sport.
Correct.
A team sport is specific of like the competition itself is multiple people working together against other multiple people working together in the moment of competition, the match itself.
Correct. So to me, the key team sports that I can name are like cricket, especially on the defensive side. That's a huge part of it. Baseball, defensive side, massive team sport. Both of them are almost very much individualistic in the hitting side. In cricket, we haven't had the primer, so I'm talking about it because I've been studying for that. There's actually two batters, so there's a way they score runs that is still collaborative offensively, whereas baseball, it's individualistic offensively. The only time it becomes team-oriented, weirdly, is when they're doing base running.
So it's like in individual sports versus team, your metric of success depends entirely on you, and team sports, your metric of success is dependent on others' actions, and other people can make mistakes.
Correct. It depends on your together collaborative effort. If you throw a ball, another person has to catch it. Those kinds of things.
Okay.
You have to know the positioning and understand where the other person's going to be. You have to have a nuance. Players.
Take a shot, everyone at home. Drink. All right. So why is it important to make this extremely fine distinction? Well, why are we defining it in such detail?
Because to get to the deeper understanding of how teamwork works and how important it is, you need to understand that teamwork
makes the dream work.
Yes, but but that it requires not only knowledge and skill of the game, but knowledge of your fellow teammate.
Of your place on the team.
Of your place, but also you have to understand the other person's play style. You have to be able to read a person. You have to have that communication. You have to have that little voice in the back of your mind that's just like, I know exactly where you're going to be if this happens.
Gotcha. Okay.
And there's an element of trust there.
I remember seeing, like, I was stumbling across a TikTok that was sport related. It's been slowly, progressively a few more sport things because I think the algorithm overlord decides that I like that. Slowly switching from Elden Ring content because I poisoned that well so long ago. It's been nothing but that. But in this one, it was talking about what is NFL fast. So it was talking about American football, and it was defining it in terms of, okay, this one individual, like, I don't know what his role was, maybe linebacker or something like that. He is fast. He's a big guy, but he's very fast. Ran a 40 in, like, I think it was 4.1, something like that. Is that fast? Does that sound right?
4.1 would be the fastest ever, so
Okay,
probably
never
not
mind,
4.1.
not
It's
4.1.
probably like 4.3.
Let's say 4.3, yeah. Very fast, but in NFL, and quantifying what NFL fast was, it was something like, he may be fast, but his ability to read what the other team was doing and where to go when he needed to be was slow compared to other players who knew the game more and knew what that other team was going to do and was in the right place at the right time. Their mental capacity to think fast in terms of what their other team members are doing, what the other team is doing, where they need to be, what the play is going to be overall on a macro scale. Individually, if it was an individually running sport for people of that weight class, they were real good. Individually, they were very strong. But all the speed in the world wouldn't help them if they couldn't be where their team needed them to be.
There's a phrase in sport, it's don't think, just do.
Top Gun Maverick.
I mean, I just saw that movie recently and I loved it. Oh, it's so good.
No spoilers, everybody.
No spoilers.
They fly planes in it.
But before I get into that,
yeah.
Are you sure it's you looking up sports or that your phone isn't listening in on our podcast recording sessions and being like,
you know, to be perfectly honest, we could have a whole episode talking about how technology is listening to us. So you think we're surrounded by cameras and microphones at all times, and of course it would be foolish for us to think that they wouldn't be able to be turned on at any particular moment or used to listen to us. Facebook literally was proved to be listening in on conversations. It is not a coincidence that when you are talking about a certain thing and you see a commercial for that thing on the TV or on YouTube or wherever, especially Facebook, because they are eavesdropping in certain circumstances, but you never know when. But I won't talk about that yet. This is not the time.
But as a teammate, it's important to eavesdrop on your teammates so that you know.
Hide in your teammates' bushes. Peer into their windows at night. Watch them shower. This is what we need to do. This is what Tyler, in the master's degree of sports, says we need to do.
No.
Think of how bonded they'd be. Think of how close they'd be. Because what would happen is, like, you would go to look in your teammates' windows, but they wouldn't be home because they're at your house looking in your windows. And then as you're walking back in the middle of the night, you run into each other like, oh! And that's teamwork. That is the definition of teamwork.
No, but getting back into the actual topic at hand.
Okay.
First of all, we defined the team sports, right?
Yes, okay.
And the sports we're focused on are the ones where success depends fundamentally on collaborative effort.
Okay.
And so going into Act 2 here.
Act 2, got it.
We're going to talk about how
Will, put
that
it like,
happens.
No. Act 2. The acting. All right.
So.
The acting.
That's Tyler's default whenever I go on some random tangent, like just some bullshit I'm doing. It. He just, so. I know that very well.
It's always the deep breath, too.
It really is.
It really is.
I can feel it. Like the whole room, just the wind of it, just, whoa, God, it moves me. The deep sighs. Anyway, sorry. And so.
So how do you get to the point to where you have a deeper understanding, right? Because throughout your life, you're going to have different teammates. Growing up in youth sports, a lot of times you have the same teammates, and a lot of times teammates become friends, and that's a huge thing. Mm-hmm. But as you advance through your age and through professional and college and everything else, your teammates change. Mm-hmm. So how do you try and build that bond faster and quicker than you did in your early years? Because in youth sports, a lot of times the team, you were working on fundamentals, you were working on heightening your motor skills, you're working on advancing your skill, and you're doing it in the same place as another person. Obviously you have conversations, and that's just the human dynamic. You want to interact with your fellow teammates, but how you make a team come together and how quick you can do that can significantly impact your success. So how teams do that is also important.
What teams did I have as a baby? Are we talking just sports or like life itself?
You can go into life itself, yeah.
Okay, what teams did I have as a baby?
Your family.
Wow, family is the first team we have?
I would say so, yeah.
Wow.
I guess, I made it as a joke, but I guess it's kind of true. Food for thought, everyone. We're learning today.
Yeah, because your parents have to work together to take care of you, whether they're both working and they have to figure out their schedules and their job, but they have to feed you. They have to take care of you. So fundamentally, your first experience in that is watching your parents work.
And fundamentally, you are letting them down. Like, you really, as a baby, you're failing your team.
I'm failing my
You're not letting them sleep.
You're not letting them
You're
sleep.
forcing them to pay a lot of money for your food.
You popped out the womb a bad teammate, is what we're trying to say.
You poop too much.
Too much. You puke too little. It's not good. Across the board, everywhere a failure. But you get better.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Growing up, you experience collaborative effort. Some people experience good collaboration. Some people experience bad collaboration. Some people don't have collaboration because they only have a single parent.
Right.
But even then, they have to collaborate with maybe babysitters or other people to help, take care of them. They collaborate with their parents, your grandparents. Family is the ultimate foundational team if we're talking about life.
Every time you say collaboration, I think of like a, YouTubers collab.
That's a team!
You want to do a collab? Yeah, let's do a collab. Come on.
Being honest, that was a team.
That was a team. It was a team. God, that was a team effort. But a team! Okay, so besides getting into the profundity, that's a real word, profundity of the human experience as a whole, which I imagine we're going to circle back to. Let's sticking to sports. Come on, Tyler, let's stick to the sports.
Well,
Stick to
back
the
to the
sports.
topic. Hey, I just rolled with the topic.
No, sports. Okay,
Sports.
Teamwork, growing up as a human, learning from other people.
Yeah. So in youth sports, a lot of times you're learning from the coaches more than you're learning from each other. But as you continue playing the game, you're a sponge. You're absorbing how both your team interacts and how the other team interacts. And you're learning the principles of the game to where you understand this person has to do this to get to here, and what I need to do to be a part of that team. And the worst feeling in the world, and you discover this as you're growing up, is not letting yourself down necessarily, but letting other people down. And so when you're in that environment, you are working your darndest to be there when you're supposed to be for that person to be able to complete the play. So in baseball, if a ground ball is hit to the shortstop obviously has to scoop up the ball, but then he has to know where to throw it.
Yeah.
If the play's at second, the second baseman has to cover second base. If the play's at home, the catcher has to be there to cover home, and the pitcher needs to back up the catcher.
Yeah.
If the play's at first, the first baseman needs to be there, and the right fielder needs to be ready to back up if the ball's missed. All of those pieces have to work individually and collaboratively in motion. If there's a double play when you're younger, this is less likely. But second baseman has to cover second, get the ball, then immediately throw, and anticipate that their teammate is going to be in the right position.
I think this is a pretty universal experience for people, or at least is a feeling that if you're at home listening to this and not aware of it, we all know the sensation of someone is counting on me to get this done. It is sometimes way more motivating to have a deadline that someone else is relying on. It may not even be a boss or something like giving you a deadline. It's like a friend, like, can you do this for me at this time? Help me move my couch at XYZ. That'll get your ass up off the couch way more than, say, if you needed to move a couch by yourself or do something by yourself. It's kind of like an external societal factor of, I care about this person, and this person will think less of me if I let them down. And for some people, like, it's just generally motivating. Like, I can't let my friends down. I can't let my family down. I can't let other people down. But they're so easy when it comes to, I can let myself down. That's a tough one. Like, that when you get to the root of, like, the motivational structure of, like, you can be easy on yourself or hard on yourself, but, like, when other people and the societal pressure of, like, being a competent human being to everyone around you and trying to be like, I need to keep up the facade of a good human being for everyone around me so they don't think that I'm just a complete failure, And so as many of that is like an illusion or whatever, it's like it really is kind of something that everybody can relate to in terms of just like, I gotta be there for the people that matter to me.
And so as you advance in sports, obviously it becomes more and more difficult as your teammates change. You have your practices together, and yes, you'll get into the motion of, yes, I know this person's going to be accountable and do their job, but there becomes a greater understanding of each other that needs to happen when you get into other sports. Volleyball, for example.
Yeah.
When you pass that ball, you have to accurately place it, and if you make a mistake, you have to depend on somebody else to be there. But there's so many motions and so many different plays that are run in volleyball, with fake spikes to cross spikes or things like that, and how a front line would want the set to be, whether it's a flat set or if it's a high set, or what direction they prefer it to be, what height they prefer it to be. Those levels of teamwork require a greater understanding of each other that you can't necessarily always get in practice. Practice is the fundamental first step to building a team, but bonding outside of the sport itself creates a greater bond to where maybe you develop a play outside of practice with another person. Maybe you put in extra hours after practice, but at the same time, you want to know the person to be able to have that greater understanding. So a lot of times, there are good ways and bad ways to form a team. One of the worst ways out there is hazing.
Hazing?
And me and you, I know we experienced this in wrestling.
Yeah.
hazing is a negative impact where everybody feels awful, but it brings them together in a collaborative of like, yeah, we made it through that.
Yeah. The tradition of pain and suffering that
Yeah.
people experience. Like, I had to do it, therefore you. It reminds me, I think, have I talked about this on this podcast about the monkeys and the ladder and the banana?
No.
I haven't told you about this. So what it always makes me think of is, so they have, let's say, 10 monkeys in like an enclosure. And there is a banana hung in the middle of the room on a string that has a ladder underneath it, like a step ladder. And so obviously, monkey see banana, monkey see ladder, monkey starts to climb the ladder and to go for the banana. However, every time a monkey got on the ladder, they sprayed cold water in the entire enclosure. Think of like a sprinkler system going, like spraying all the monkeys, and obviously they freak out. And ethics aside, this is just something that happened back probably before anyone
back when we had a lot of the weird experiments of like shocking a person in the lab coat and the power dynamics.
The whole of the 1900s was a chaos of terms of experimentation. There's many podcasts out there that I listen to that cover this in gory great detail. But anyway, for this experiment, all the monkeys get sprayed with water. They don't go towards the ladder. They all learn that if you touch the ladder, you get sprayed with water. Okay? So they remove one of the monkeys. They put a new monkey in the enclosure. That monkey doesn't know about the water, but he sees the banana and knows there's a ladder there. So goes for the ladder, touches the ladder, water everywhere. All the other monkeys are mad at that monkey because they all learned the lesson already. Eventually, they cycle out one more monkey. The monkey goes for the ladder. All the other monkeys stop that monkey from going on the ladder. They haze that monkey. They're like, no one touches the ladder. And eventually, they didn't even spray water this time. And they keep doing this where they cycle out a different monkey to a new monkey until 10 new monkeys are there. There's still the banana on the string. There's still the ladder. But none of those monkeys have been sprayed with water at all. They don't know what the punishment is that they're experiencing. They just know you don't go touch the ladder because I got beat up for trying to touch that ladder. And every single one of them is like, we don't touch the ladder, even though there's no more water being sprayed. None of them know what the original point of it was. They're all just like, we went through this shit. You don't touch that ladder because I went through that shit. That reminds me of what hazing is, like in college fraternities and stuff like that. I mean, it's not necessarily, but I kind of can see a little bit of a comparison there. Like it's the whole thing of like, I suffered, therefore you will suffer because I suffered.
But then you're in it together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then we're in it together.
Because you're on the same wavelength. Because then every monkey in there is on the same wavelength, even though they haven't experienced the punishment.
Yeah.
They're on the same wavelength, and that's what hazing can do. Now, don't haze. First of all,
don't haze. It's not good.
There's levels of hazing that are incrementally worse and do terrible things to people and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. There's a level of like an okay team bonding moment that is, it's not a haze, but it's silly. So when I joined my football team in college, I walked onto a football team in college because I didn't play football in high school other than freshman year. That's a whole different story. We can get into at a different point. Mm-hmm. I think I talked about it. It's like politics and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I walked onto the football team, and the ritual was that everybody had to do a skit. They would go on stage and have to do a skit, and the idea was it's based off the team. It can comedy based, whatever you want to do. You can do a musical performance, whatever. It's like a talent show.
Right.
Now, obviously, people have stage fright. Believe it or not, I have stage fright. Mm-hmm. But I'm also a person who, when I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. Mm-hmm. And so what ended up happening is we had to form groups and perform a skit. So first of all, you have a bonding in that group to come up with a skit idea. You're working together. It creates a team within a team, right? Mm-hmm. And then you go on stage and you do it, and a lot of times people will laugh. You make fun of your fellow teammates. You kind of poke fun at the coaches. Mm-hmm. And it gives you an opportunity to like share in that laugh and share in that experience and get a deeper understanding of the person than just the athlete.
It's like a communal thing that is stressful that people have to go through, but it's not hateful.
Correct.
It is technically a supportive environment. It is doing something that is scary, but we all went through it together, and now we are bonded at the end of it. Like,
yeah.
Even if you don't have stage fright, like, it's something to do, but also for those that do, it's like the biggest challenge in the world. But everyone does it, so everyone is on the same page.
And there's no physical harm or real mental harm that comes from this, which
but
is
then where's the character building? How are they going to get tough if they don't get whapped with the whapping stick? That's how I did it when I was a boy. Why are you looking at me like that?
There's another way that teams
just gonna ignore
bond.
I'm gonna ignore you.
I don't want to touch that. There's another way where team bonding happens, and it's collaborative punishment. For if something goes wrong as a team, if one person makes a mistake, everybody suffers. So there was an instance in water polo, not my first year, my sophomore year, where there was an incident that happened. I won't get into it. I know all the people involved, and I know we didn't care for the coach, we didn't care for the player, but there was no fight, nobody was hurt, but there was an altercation. And it was at our home pool in Milford. And after 2 games, we swam for what felt like hours of sprints.
Cool.
And it was exhausting, and it was awful. And nobody was, like, mad at that one person. Obviously, everybody looks at him like, God damn, this is your fault. No.
Sounds like they were mad.
But that's usually what happens. But it wasn't that case because we all didn't like this coach. And so we were like, it's whatever. But we all were together suffering. And we knew the reason for it. And it created a greater bond. And we in water polo won a state championship 2 years later. And the biggest reason I think that happened was because we had so much time playing together early on that we understood each other's play style, where somebody would be, who was the one that was the better shooter, who was better for this. Like, we knew our roles and we understood what somebody was going to do before they did it.
Right.
And that's the deeper level of teamwork that happens when you actually get to know a person. Because there's a thing about knowing what they do normally and knowing how they think. And so when you know how somebody thinks, it's just instantly in your mind, you react, you don't think about it. It becomes second nature.
Yeah.
And that's the level of teamwork that gets you to the highest levels. And in the professional ranks, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase played in college together.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that they played in college together, but yeah, I always hear when they were talking about the Bengals, like them two together, working together. And I remember Jamar saying, or unless you were about to quote it.
No, you go ahead.
Who said something like, yeah, I just do whatever Joe says, and like, I don't even think about it anymore. He knows what he's talking about, so I just trust him, It's like, he tells me go this way, I'm going that way.
Exactly. There's no debate. There's no thinking. They had that connection from college to where that's why I think they had so much success this past season together.
Yeah.
So as you develop and as things happen along those lines, you get into the mindset of you don't think, you just do. And when you have that greater bond, you don't think, you just do. That person is going to be there. And it's there.
And that's why when you get to that point with someone, let's say you and I, we know each other a long time, we have a pretty deep understanding of how we work, each other works. That's why it can be so devastating to a friendship if, say, something goes completely opposite. When Tyler showed up at my house butt naked, like helicoptering his dick, that was out of character. I'm not going to lie. It was strange. And that made me question a lot of things about him, where he was. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you embarrassed me telling
No,
you?
this didn't
Very
happen.
true. Very true story.
The very true story would be the time I broke into your house.
Right, yeah, that was a fun one. But honestly, not out of character. I totally see that. Like, I can see the logic. Even that. But I'm talking, like, when you get let down. In all seriousness, like, when you have a friend that you thought you knew and they let you down or in a way that you never thought they were capable of, that's one of those things where it can make you question everything. You suddenly turn around, it's like something I fundamentally knew to be true. It's really, like, profound, the intensity of what that feeling can be. I haven't felt it too many times in my life, but that's why I think betrayal is such a strong emotion or feeling or something like that. Not people blow up what betrayal is. Like, I've been betrayed, and it's like, doesn't happen outside of like medieval times or whatever, things like that. But what I'm getting at is, like, those deeper understandings are very hard to build, and they can be very strong in terms of, like, forgiving, but they also can, like, when they fracture, like, they fracture hard, and that's where I imagine teams can break apart, like shatter, completely go to pieces when a serious conflict comes into it of a once unified team just like exploding completely.
Correct. And sometimes that's why when they talk about, like, somebody who has a deep impact on the locker room is such a big deal in the NFL or professional sport, because it's not only that, they're the player, but they're the ones that hold people accountable. They're the ones that, make it fun. Because a key part of sport is if it no longer becomes fun and becomes monotonous, you are going to not have the same kind of reaction because you're thinking about other things outside of the game when you're playing the game. When you're having fun, you're just playing. You're just going. And so a locker room mentality where there's less egos, everybody is on the same page, nobody's whining about not getting the ball or whining about, this person screwed up or pointing fingers. That's where locker room personality is huge, and that's how you get a deeper bond and a deeper motivation. Like, that was the biggest thing for the Bengals years ago. Before they were able to make the Super Bowl this year, there was a huge change. The coaching staff changed. A lot of stuff changed there. And so from an outside perspective, you're like, oh, why aren't they successful? They have all this talent. They weren't feeling as equals. They weren't feeling as a team, possibly. And so, like, when I know Carlos Dunlap talked about some stuff, some people left because they were like, this doesn't feel, I don't like this environment anymore, because it changed. And the dynamic in that locker room changed, and that's fundamentally, it starts from the top. And so Zach Taylor, who's the head coach of the Bengals, had to make a change. It's the same thing that happens in high school and college, is sometimes when that change happens, fundamentally it breaks apart that team because they don't have that same bond. The play calling, the different things that are happening, they don't know what the coach expects. And they do it a different way, and then the coach is trying to correct it, and so it just fundamentally breaks them. And that's the same thing when a big ego comes in that's like, I'm the greatest of all time. Why aren't you passing me the ball? Why aren't you handing me the ball? Why this? Why not that? When the I gets inserted into a team, when you have a superstar that is that egotistical, that it's about their stats and their stuff, the team mentality starts to fracture.
Right. I would equate this, I don't have much personal experience with, but I was at a drive-thru. Hold on. Like, hear me out.
I'm letting you go.
Go ahead.
On the way here, and why I was late. I was at the drive-thru, like just down the road there, and what blew my mind is, like, there was only one truck in front of me, right? One truck, and I was up at the speaker for the drive-thru, and I'm like, I'm just gonna get a little thing real quick, and then we'll record some episodes here. But this guy just sat there, waving his hand into the window. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but clearly it was very animated. And then I started seeing on the screen more orders popping up at the drive-thru screen, and I realized this guy is ordering more, because then he starts, like, looking at receipts, does a thing where his receipts out the window, like, look at this. And what happened was I waited there for 10 minutes. 10 minutes. I had multiple people come up in line behind me, wait for 2-3 minutes, and then leave. That happened to 3 different cars that came up behind me and left. And then, after 10 minutes, I said, fuck it, I'm leaving too. That one egotistical guy who thought his time was so freaking valuable cost that business 4 other cars of customers. Didn't matter how much he ordered. There's no way that he was going to order as much as 4 potential people there. The only thing reason I'm talking about this is it reminds me of things like that, where you have this egotistical guy that's part of a company or a team or anything like this, and has so many demands, like the like a cliche of a Karen or anyone like this, is they think that they're so important they rob everyone else from the experience of what's occurring. And in a team, I imagine it's the same way. The overall team is less effective when they have to cater towards a certain person's individuality, especially in team sports.
Yes.
Right? Is that what you're getting at?
Yes.
Was my drive-thru analogy
It was kind of on base.
It was better than usually. On base! It's a baseball thing!
Yes.
Ah! Anyway, I'm trying, man. I'm trying to understand.
Act 3.
Wow.
All right. So we've talked about what makes teamwork effective.
All right.
Right.
But now we have to build the perfect teammate.
Oh, interesting. This is like cutting off the limbs of your perfect
Yes.
quarterback and stitching them together Frankenstein style.
So we're going to simply talk attributes. So one of the basic comparisons that I always talk about in building a perfect teammate is, obviously you want them to be skilled. You want them to be great. You want them to be a good player, because obviously for a team to be successful, everybody on the team has to be good at what they do. But would you rather have them be amazing in work ethic or incredibly talented?
All the talent in the world doesn't matter if they don't show up when they're needed. So
Work
I'm going to go with incredible work ethic.
Yeah.
Work ethic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Work ethic every time.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. There's a level of talent that I think everybody has if they make it to a certain level. But work ethic goes beyond just the skill of the game, because they will work to be a part of a team and to do something to improve their teammates and push each other and be a part of that locker room experience that drives them further. So being able to have that tremendous work ethic is a huge thing that I try to have constantly. Going from sports to everything else. If I ever feel like I let somebody down, or I've been lazy or not put in the time, especially when somebody else is depending on me, myself, whatever. I'll work hard on myself when I have the time and stuff like that. But if there's somebody else that is depending on me for a show or for anything else, if I feel like I let them down, I am so sad. I get so depressed. And you saw this on tour. Like, there were times where I felt like I didn't contribute as well as I felt I should have. Or I wasn't my best on this day or anything like that. And it had nothing to do with my effort. My effort was absolutely there. But I will always, and it's awful. It's probably my biggest demon, is feeling like I didn't give enough. Or I wasn't good enough. And so, like, I work incredibly hard every single time. I mean, even in Space with Markiplier, I felt so bad in that opening hallway scene. You guys have no idea. That line is so simple, and I screwed it up so many times.
But I kept telling you it doesn't matter because we could just replace it with whatever take you get it right. Because the audio is malleable so long as you look like you're saying it. Because you're covering your mouth anyway.
I know, I was whispering,
but it's all good. No, I totally get that. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so that scene, I was so nervous. It was the first one on set, and I naturally use the word attractive instead of handsome or beautiful.
Yeah.
This
So
is
handsome
completely
and
off
or
point,
beautiful.
but because it's more universal. And so I was like, yeah, I'm attracted. And I'm like, crap, that's not the line. Every time.
Crap, I'm attractive.
Damn it, I'm attractive.
I am so handsome.
I am so handsome and are beautiful.
I mean, in all fairness, Jordan is quite a handsome man. So
That's a handsome man right there.
he's got a thick neck.
For those of you who don't know, Jordan was the one behind the camera, wearing the camera for In Space with Markiplier, so that's who we're talking about.
Yeah. So, but now getting into stuff outside of just adjectives. Describe your perfect teammate.
My perfect teammate? My perfect teammate does have some individuality. In all honesty, I do like not being reliant on waiting to see what everyone else is doing to, like, have this sense where, oh, I got to make sure I'm on the same page with everyone else. I actually prefer it when, if I'm on any team, and of course when I'm not talking in a sports related way. Right. I'm talking in, like, my personal life. I like it when other people that I work with on the team that I'm a part of, so let's say, for example, my channel, Lixian is like a perfect example. Because Lixian will take initiative and just do things, and because I trust him, we are on the same wavelength creatively, he can then inject his own individuality into things, and he doesn't have to wait for me to give the go-ahead on things. That's what I actually appreciate. Now,
so like a self-starter, somebody who takes
exactly.
the initiative and is willing to maybe at times be wrong, but at least have tried something.
Absolutely. Yeah. Instead of, like, being delicate about him, like, oh God, I got to make sure, like, you know, this is perfect or right or something like that. I like people that try things because I'm a more chaotic type of creative person. I don't really adhere to, like, super strict schedules and stuff, or I don't do anything unless I have a clear passion for doing it. And so when I see that in other people and like the self-starter aspect of it, it's really inspiring to me because that will get me being like, oh shit, I really like that. I want to run with that idea. I like people bringing it to me, even if but this is different, right? Because in technically the team of my channel, I'm at the head, so I'm a leader of sorts. So
you would be the captain.
I would be the captain, but even as the captain, I like people taking it in their own direction, even if I have to reel them back in every once in a while. There was an example, the thumbnail for a highlight on the Distractable YouTube channel, not to mention that disgraceful Neanderthalic channel.
Are you talking about Bob's
here.
Fridge?
No, I'm talking about, we started doing custom thumbnails for highlights. They're really well done. They're done by the same animators that make the animations. But one of them was like, Mark has the sex talk, and it's just, the thumbnail is vulgar. Let's just get that
Let's get that out of the way. It's vulgar.
Like, look, this is a good thumbnail. It's really eye-catching, but also, whoa. If YouTube doesn't take it down, it can stay up, but I'm like, just like, okay, a little too far. But I'd rather someone go a little too far and reel them back in than try to limit their own creativity.
You want people to take risks.
Exactly. I want people to take risks. And I'm willing to suffer the consequences of a bad bet as opposed to not having the potential for them to reach farther.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I like. However, obviously, for my purposes, we all do have to be on the same page. Eventually, I just like to be surprised every once in a while with like what people do, and I don't want to ever act as an impediment towards other people's outlets of creativity.
I think that speaks really well to like the improv training, because the first thing you learn in improv when we're training, obviously we have to tone it back a bit, is just do. Don't hold yourself back. Don't be like, oh, I can't make that joke. Oh, I can't do that. When you're in closed doors and you're training, let the comedy flow, regardless of whether it's terrible, whether it's awful, just let it flow, and then you refine it.
You know what my favorite scene that we ever did wasn't? It wasn't even our scene. It was like Bob, Wade, and Ethan were on stage, and then like I would do like come on, and then we just picked up stuff in the background and we were moving it. Do you remember that? I don't know what show this was. If you were at this show, please let us know. But it was like we were in the background. We were moving like I think big panes of glass or some shit like that.
We changed it up every time.
Yeah, because the game was changed. So they were doing their scene. We were just like, let's just be in the background. Let's be a part of this. And then every time they hit change, we changed how we were carrying the thing. And what we were carrying was changing. And at the end of it, like, for some reason, you were humping the thing on the floor. But we stole the scene, basically. We weren't even talking. Like, Bob, Wade, and Ethan were confused why everyone was laughing until they started looking back at us and seeing you humping this thing on the ground towards the end of it. But that was my favorite scene that we were ever a part of because we weren't thinking about it. It was like, let's see what happens. And it's just like we do, and we trust each other, and we know. And like they just did their own thing, and then we were.
Yeah, I think that was one of the only scenes where all five of us were doing something.
Yeah.
And I remember that scene because I remember you saying something, and I didn't really fully understand what you were trying to tell me, but I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do whatever.
Yeah. Just like pick up this invisible thing and let's act like we're carrying it. But no, it turned out super well. But yeah, that's an example of improv team. You know, it's just like having other people you work with. It's universal, and I imagine you're going to circle this back around and talk about like this is a common human element. Being in a society with other people, you are never alone. You are never working by yourself. You are always standing on the accomplishments and efforts of other people that have been there and have touched your lives indirectly in ways you will never comprehend. The roads that you walk on are paved by other people's efforts. And I mean that like literally and metaphorically. The paths that you can walk on, like being a YouTuber, like there are roads that have been paved by efforts of other YouTubers who have worked for YouTube itself, like building infrastructure, Twitch streamers, like guidance. Technology has been molded by people that want to do certain things in sports and in like streaming or in every aspect of life. Like entire businesses are built around how people choose to use things or industries that are made just because other people decide to try something differently. Look at the equipment that we are surrounded with. This device that we're recording this podcast on was made specifically because podcasting became more popular, so the tools to do it have become more accessible. And in sports, all of these accolades and achievements that other people have paved the way for set new standards and expectations for other people to meet. The kind of cooperation that you see in other teams and the way that they work become like a template for other people to try to emulate.
That's what I loved about improv. That's what I loved about tour. I could depend on every single one of you guys on stage that if I made a joke and it didn't land, you would elevate it and make it better. Or vice versa. When something happened, you'd be there.
Yeah. And I think like it's a coming out. For me, it's actually like they don't need to be a friend. To be perfectly honest, like I am fine with working on teams with people that I do not like. But not liking someone or disagreeing with them is not a fundamental basis for not seeing the value in what they can bring to the table.
Correct. I'm not saying they're like a friend that you hang out with all the time,
yeah.
But the level of understanding and the trust and the relationship you have with them is like a friend.
Yeah.
Like when you're having a down moment, they're going to lift you up.
Yeah.
A lot of times that happens just in practice. It's not that you're hanging out outside of practice. It's that when you're doing something, it's like they elevate you. And so like they bring their own knowledge. They bring their own skill set. They have a semblance of confidence, but not an ego. They make it fun. They know when it's time to hammer it home, and they know when it's time to goof off. They're the strength to your weakness. They're a motivator. They're an inspiration. Every single person you meet is an inspiration, and they're not afraid to give you a part of themselves in the process. And as I continue to talk about this, all I can think about is Denise and working on the papers together and the times we goofed and everything that we did together. And I don't think I've ever had a more perfect person to work on projects with than I've ever had. And I got to play rec sports with her and stuff like that. But at the same time, like, at the core of a perfect teammate is a good, wonderful person, regardless. And so I see that in my friends every day. I see that in the people that I get to work with on this podcast and everywhere in the stretch of this world. I look back on my teammates from youth sports and on, and the impact that each one of them have. I have a piece that has shaped me from every person I have met along the way. And that, to me, makes every person that I meet, whether they're still here or gone, immortal.
That's very profound. That's very big. And that wraps up the talking segment of the podcast. Now we move on to the channeling segment of the podcast.
All right, I'm ready. I'm ready for these hot takes.
I have pulled up in front of me on our subreddit, which is reddit.com/r/GMFST. People have spicy takes because in the world of putting yourself out there as an expert of sports, some people think otherwise. They think that maybe they know better than you. And I'm going to act as a channel for these voices because these, maybe they're coming from a place of ignorance. Maybe they know what they're talking about, but I will be their voice. I am the representative of the people, of the listeners right now. And right now, first and foremost in their mind is...
For those of you that don't know, Mark is pulling up the subreddit right now. So
reddit.com/r/GMFST.
Yeah, that's where you can submit these takes to bring it to the episode.
I've got a vision in my head. Tyler, how dare you not know who Madame Zeroni is? How dare you not know? Can't believe that Tyler didn't know who Madame Zeroni is. May his afro be filled with pure shame. Shame.
Okay, listen, you're asking me to remember a name from a book and a movie that I watched a long, long time ago. It's been years. This brain is filled with sport. This brain is filled with balls and pucks and everything galore and rules. I've been studying and focused on all of this. My mind was not on a movie or a book at this moment. It was on sports ball. And at the same time, it was on what we were talking about in that moment. I know who Madame Zeroni is. I just had a blank moment, and you need to forgive me.
I will consider that a win. That's a point for Tyler in terms of the Tyler v. the audience segment. I'll give that to him. The other top one that I've seen is whenever they talk about hockey, it leaves me turning over in my Canadian grave. I was in physical pain when Tyler was trying to figure out what CGY meant. It was driving me insane. These are all separate quotes. Quote, as a Calgarian, I died a little inside, crying face. Quote, I am not Canadian, but I understand. Hockey is my favorite sport, and the episode being less than an hour long physically pained me, all caps.
All right, first of all, no team in Canada has won the Stanley Cup in years, let alone been in it.
Oh, you're attacking Canada. You're attacking Canada.
So, the reason I don't know Calgary or some of the abbreviations of the other teams from Canada, I knew Montreal, is because they haven't won.
Wow.
They haven't won. They have not been in the big news when I've been paying attention to sports. Ooh. I haven't absorbed every game of hockey, but if they won a game and won the Stanley Cup, maybe I'd remember them.
Wow, that, ooh. But that didn't address the overall concern of your full knowledge of hockey.
In all fairness, I never played hockey. I watched it when I was younger a lot more, and I've watched more Olympic hockey more than I've watched NHL hockey.
Okay.
And I talked about this, I think, a couple episodes ago, is I felt bad about the hockey episode because I knew I wasn't giving it its due fully. And the reason for that is I actually hopped on a call with a friend of mine who works with the Tampa Bay Lightning, who is an avid hockey fan and an avid watcher and absorber of hockey media. And I had them coach me up and teach me. And in all fairness, this is Mark's fault.
Whoa!
Mark had to push back our recording date. I had scheduled my education day the day before recording.
Okay.
And Mark was like, hey, I can't make it. This came up. This other thing came up. Which is fair. It's my fault that I didn't refresh myself before we actually recorded that episode. So, yes, my knowledge of hockey is lacking. And yes, I should have done better. I'll take the loss on that one.
All right, okay. I was about to go into a tirade. If you're going to blame Calgary for not winning, for you not knowing who they are, you can blame me for not knowing that. Okay, all right. that's a point for the audience in that one. The hockey fans have been assuaged. This next one's a follow-up in the same thread. Quote, I felt the same way about the sports nutrition episode. When Tyler started talking about creatine and creatinine, I almost lost my mind. I actually have no idea what this is about, but apparently there was some confusion in your information. How dare you not know what creatine and creatinine are really for?
I know what creatinine is because I've had kidney disease since I've diagnosed since I was 2. Why are you trying to be all punk like
I'm trying
right
to
now?
be the viewer. I don't know what level of
Your
intelligence.
sideways hat pointing at me
I don't
like,
know. Yeah.
I'm a skater, boy.
How
I'm
do
going to
you-
wreck you.
You don't. Is that what you think skater was?
I'm scared, girl.
Anyway, what is okay? So you do know creatinine.
Yes, and I know it.
I'm only going to give you a point if you can tell me what creatinine and creatine are.
Okay, so creatinine is the byproduct of protein development in the human body.
Okay.
And it's filtered by the kidney out through your urine.
Uh-huh.
So the blood level of creatinine in your blood is a fundamental measure of kidney function.
Okay. And creatine, I know that's a supplement that
It
people
is.
take.
It's a supplement for most people that do like bodybuilding and stuff like that. And there's a lot of information out there about it, but it's something I physically cannot take. But what it does is it does boost muscle growth and performance because you are fundamentally forcing more blood flow to those areas. And it does, from a structural standpoint, make you retain water.
Okay.
And when you retain water, the water has to go somewhere, and it does go into your muscles. So a fundamental standpoint from research that exists, it does force a little bit more water into your muscles. It's not entirely all water weight. It does have some boosting supplements. It's been well studied and tested. But at the same time, it's a supplement, which means it's not fundamentally tested by the FDA. It's not checked into fully nutritionally. There's a lot on it. And it can be beneficial to some people, but at the same time, I can't take it because it can be harmful to those with medical predispositions, especially with the kidney or other filtration.
Okay. Sounds good enough to me. I'll give Tyler the win on that one. And Tyler is one versus the viewers. If you have other spicy takes that you want me to present to Tyler, go to reddit.com/r/GMFST for the Go My Favorite Sports Team subreddit, and also post your favorite fan art, your pictures that you made. Try not to steal other people's stuff, and be part of the discussion about sports and educating each other about how we do this stuff in the sports world.
And also, in my opinion, I think this is okay. If you see somebody with a hot take on Twitter using the hashtag GMFST, please share it into the subreddit, giving them credit so that those takes can also be added to it, because not everybody understands Reddit, apparently. And I had somebody
That's
being
me.
like, I want to submit for the elegance competition. I'm like,
Yeah.
go here. And they're like, I give up. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, I actually would like to declare the winner of the elegance competition.
Oh, okay.
Because
Yeah.
it's been a while since we did that. I wanted to make sure we follow up with this. So there was a post by TI9ERLILLY, Tiger Lily, I'm assuming. It's this picture of like the feather pen and like the multiple tomes, and the lighting's good. And I thought it was just like, it was a really elegant way. There was many other people that had really nice, elegant pictures. There was like Nutella_Frico had a good one of just a dress and a teacup. I liked that. There's someone really nice posing. Trees of Fall had a good one just in front of a TV, but it didn't have like the surrounding elegant elements to it. Same with the previous one. And then there was someone who went out into a park and sat on a blanket.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one too.
James
Yeah.
56. But unfortunately, it felt like in nature, it didn't quite have that elegant. And elegance has like a sense of decadence to it. And there was something about that other picture that I think, if you're okay with me making this call, I believe that Tiger Lily, TI9ERLILLY, has won the Elegant Listener competition.
I accept your judgment.
Thank you. All right. We don't have a prize lined up, but here's some applause. And well, if this is unacceptable, please let us know. Once we get merch, we'll send you some merch. How about that?
Yeah, we'll have to figure out how to message. I don't know if Reddit
You
has-
can DM on Reddit. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Most platforms have DMing, so.
Yeah, social media. But anyway, I think that wraps it up for this episode.
Yeah, anything you want to say at the end of this?
subscribe to Markiplier. It's no, I was...
Join the Markiplier team. Subscribe, like, subscribe, and share.
No. I've actually, one thing is that recently I am quote unquote interning at Corridor Digital, and that is a new experience because I am suddenly part of a team where I am not in charge of the team. And it's a great experience. Like most everything I've done on YouTube when I'm working with other people, I'm usually the one that is leading whatever that project is, whether it's space or heist or date or something. Like it's there. My name's in the title, like it's there. So it's really nice to be a part of a team environment where I can lend my knowledge and expertise, and I can learn from these other people and their VFX specialized people. I can learn so much from the way that they approach their work. I can see how they work together. I can see some of the efficiencies, the inefficiencies. I can lend my knowledge here and there where it fits in without trying to step in too hard. But really, it's just been a really nice experience to be a part of a team where we're like everyone's on an equal footing for the most part.
Yeah. I think my closing words are just, please, if you can, just send some kind words to the universe, or you can share them everywhere, and respect the privacy of Denise's family. She leaves her parents and her husband of 1 year. So please send them all the love in the world on social media. I can send all of your kind messages. I've been getting a lot of people being kind towards me after losing a friend. And so all I want to say is respect their privacy, respect their grieving process, and just send love out there. And remember, at the end all be all is, sometimes you haven't talked to somebody in a while. It's never too late to reach out and reconnect. It's never too late to make sure and let people know that you care about them. And it's better to do so sooner rather than later. And so, but if you want to check me out, I've been on this also really cool show over on Roll For It. It's like Bridgerton. It's a drama, scandal, romance from the 1800s. Please check that out. I don't want this show to end. It's so much fun. And but send all the love in the world to Denise's family.
That sounds good. Well, thank you everybody so much for listening. Thank you, Tyler, for your expertise here. If you have any problem with what Tyler said about teamwork,
especially the team sports at the beginning, that's a team sport. That's not a thing.
Let us know. We'd love to hear your arguments about it, or I would anyway. Tyler might not love it, but he will hear it nonetheless. I will channel it through us. So, thank you. Just remember to subscribe. All of your listens are helping to support this podcast, support our mission of helping more people understand sports. Those that like sports, don't like sports. And we've got a lot of cool stuff in the works as far as like special guests, live streams that we're going to do. We've got a lot of fun stuff in store. So be on the lookout for that.
Merch and the YouTube channel soon.
Very soon.
I know people are like, where's the YouTube channel? I need it.
Oh, I mean, it's like pretty much the same content, except for the Butler video and whatever else we got going on. So thank you, everyone, for listening.
Have a good one.
Farewell. All right, bye.
Well, first off, I want to say my sorry apologies to Tyler and his friend Denise. I hope Denise is somewhere good and not somewhere bad. I'm really sorry for your loss. Like what do you say to a person you've kind of looked up to for your whole entire life, and someone they know personally and that's very important to them dies? Like, what do you tell that person? I guess sorry for your loss is like the common thing you tell people when they are experiencing loss. So I guess that. But I have been on a team, and though I don't feel like when I was on my softball team that it was very, like they said, very helpful for the whole team to advance, like we lost a lot of games because not a lot of the girls on my team would like help either people who weren't doing very well in the sport like me out more, or just like not like cooperating like at all. So that's my experience with teamwork. But I've been like in like group projects, and like I'm doing like actual work that's like go with like a person and a team, so gotta get used to that. Anything else about teamwork that I can think of? No, I think that's it. So what did I just wrote on this piece of paper? You'll never know. Okay, you'll never know. And I also wrote some things on other piece of papers, which you'll never know. But I don't know if I want to do it tomorrow or on Mark's birthday, because I want to do this on either tomorrow or Mark's birthday, but I'm not really sure when, because I applied for a job, because I have to, actually, this YouTube thing isn't, like, paying me, so I have to get my money somewhere, and so I have to apply for a summer job, and that summer job is going to be from Monday through Friday, like, from 8 a.m. to 6, so if I don't do anything tomorrow, which I probably will start doing something tomorrow, and then either when I come home from work or on the weekend I will do the other thing, but I think I may fit all of it tomorrow. If I wake up early and I remember to do it, I think I can do it tomorrow. I think I do half of it tomorrow if we're lucky. So get ready for that. Yeah. Alright, so anyways, I have to go. I have to clean and stuff and get ready for tomorrow and look some things up. But this has been M.A.D.D.Y. But I'll see you guys next time, and I'll promise I will have something to do. I'll think of something to do while we do this, like, distractible, go my favorite sports team things. It's just you sitting there, just watching me. It's not gonna work. But peace.